During a family gathering, my brother stood up and declared, "Mom and Dad decided I should move into your house." I took a sip of my drink and said, "That's funny because I sold it last week." His jaw dropped when I handed him Reddit stories for you. Their faces turned pale when the lawyer handed them. Before we begin the story, take a moment to support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Your support means the world to our channel and helps us spread more shocking true stories to light. Now, let's get started. A shocking declaration at the family gathering. Family gatherings in my household have never been joyful occasions. They're more like a forced obligation, a biannual performance that everyone is required to attend. Twice a year, like clockwork, we gather in my parents' house. Once for Christmas and once for my mother's birthday. It's a tradition, yes, but not the kind you cherish, more like the kind you endure. And I had endured it for years. But this year was different. This was the year I had finally had enough. A little background first. I'm the eldest sibling, and my younger brother, let's call him Jake, has been the undisputed golden child from the moment he took his first breath. If Jake set the house on fire, my parents would probably blame the fire department for not arriving fast enough. Meanwhile, if I brought home an A instead of an A+, I was lectured for an hour about not meeting my potential. Jake never held a job for more than 6 months, and at 34, he was still comfortably living with our parents, rent-free, responsibility-free, consequence-free. He didn't contribute a dime, didn't lift a finger to help around the house, and yet my parents catered to him like he was royalty. Me? I was the responsible one, the one they leaned on for everything, whether it was lending them money, fixing things around the house, or playing therapist every time Jake got dumped by one of his many girlfriends. But this was the year I decided I was done. So I made some moves, big ones. One of those moves? Selling my house. And that, my friends, is where this story truly begins. The gathering from hell. The moment I walked into my parents' house for the family gathering, I knew something was off. My mother was practically glowing with excitement, and Jake sat there with a smug grin stretched across his face, like a man who had just won the lottery without buying a ticket. Halfway through dinner, my father cleared his throat and nudged Jake, as if urging him to deliver some grand announcement. Might get twisted. Whatever was coming next, I wasn't going to like it. Jake stood up, raised his glass, and with all the confidence of a man who had done absolutely nothing to earn it, declared, "So Mom and Dad decided I should move into your house." Silence. The fork in my hand froze halfway to my mouth. I blinked at him, unsure if I'd actually heard him right. My mother clapped her hands together like a delighted child. "Yes. Since you're always traveling for work, it just makes sense for Jake to live there instead of wasting money on rent." Excuse me? Let me be perfectly clear. They never asked me. They never mentioned it. They didn't even hint at it. They had just decided, as if my house was theirs to give away. I took a slow sip of my wine, setting my fork down gently. I wanted to savor this moment, because I had been waiting for this. Then, in the most casual, effortless tone I could muster, I said, "That's funny because I sold it last week." Jake's smug grin disappeared so fast, you'd think someone had yanked the ground out from under him. My mother's face drained of color. My father choked on his drink. "What?" my mother gasped. I shrugged. "I sold the house," I repeated, reaching into my bag and pulling out a thick envelope. I slid it across the table toward Jake, watching his fingers tremble as he picked it up. "And since I knew you'd try to pull something like this, I even brought proof." Jake ripped open the envelope, eyes scanning the official sale contract. His expression morphed from disbelief to pure horror. No, you can't do this." His voice cracked. "I was supposed to move in. Mom and Dad said." I leaned back in my chair. "Mom and Dad," I said slowly, "don't own my house." My eyes flicked to them. "And neither do you." Meltdown at the dinner table. The second the words left my mouth, the room erupted. My mother immediately burst into tears, clutching her chest like I had just announced I was moving to another planet. "How could you do this?" she wailed. "Your brother needs a place to live." I shrugged. "He's 34. He can figure it out." Jake slammed the papers onto the table, his face turning a deep shade of red. "You can just buy another place. Let me move in until then." I let out a laugh. Not just any laugh, a real, genuine, from-the-gut laugh. Because this was comedy. You actually think I should just buy another house because you need a place to crash? I shook my head. Do you even hear yourself? But Jake wasn't done. You're being selfish, he spat. And that's when my father, who had been quiet until now, finally decided to chime in. He set down his drink, fixing me with a disapproving stare. You know your brother isn't as successful as you, he said, as if that was my problem to solve. I grabbed my coat, already done with this entire conversation. I know, I said, but that's because he's never had to be. Because you two keep enabling him. And with that, I walked out. The fallout. The next few weeks? Glorious. Jake had a full-blown meltdown. He went to my old house, knocked on the door, and demanded to be let in, only to find a lovely retired couple living there. When they told him to leave, he screamed at them about how it was his house. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. The police escorted him off the property. Then came the phone calls. My parents were livid. Fix this, my mother shrieked over the phone. I hung up. Then I blocked them. And then the extended family got involved. Jake is homeless because of you. Your parents are heartbroken. You should have told them first. It was just one house. You could have given it to your brother. I ignored them all. Eventually, word got out that Jake had moved into my parents' basement, a 34-year-old man sleeping on a couch in the house he never had to leave in the first place. Karma. As for me, I took my money and left for a long vacation. And honestly, I had no plans of coming back anytime soon. The nightmare wasn't over. I thought that was the end of it. I thought I had made my grand exit, washed my hands of their nonsense, and could finally move on with my life. I was wrong. 1 week into my vacation, my phone rang. Restricted number. Normally, I'd ignore it, but something in my gut told me to pick up. The second I answered, my mother's voice shrieked through the speaker. Where the hell are you? I sighed, swirling my drink as I lounged on the balcony of my beachfront rental. Mom, I blocked you for a reason. She ignored that completely. Do you have any idea what you've done? Jake is suffering. I put the phone on speaker, setting it down next to me. Oh yeah? What's he up to now? Silence. Then, in a voice dripping with drama, she said, he got evicted. I blinked. Evicted? From where? Your basement. She let out a deep, pained sigh, like I had personally ruined her life. Yes, he had some trouble. We had to ask him to leave. And it's all because of you. I nearly choked on my drink. I'm sorry, how exactly is that my fault? Another pause. Then, reluctantly, she muttered, he ran up our credit cards. I sat up. Excuse me. She groaned. We gave him a few credit cards. You know, just for emergencies. But he maxed them all out. I actually had to take a moment to process the level of stupidity I had just heard. Wait, you gave Jay credit cards. I let out a low whistle. My God, how stupid are you? Do not speak to me like that, she snapped. I rolled my eyes. Then stop acting like I owe you something. She took a deep breath, clearly trying to compose herself. Look, we need your help. Your father and I are struggling financially. Jake has nowhere to go. You need to fix this. I laughed. No, you need to fix this. Just let him stay with you for a while, she pleaded. He won't be any trouble. I smirked. Oh, that's adorable. You think I still live somewhere, you know. A sharp inhale. What do you mean? I leaned back in my chair. I moved. Silence. Where? I grinned. Wouldn't you like to know? Then I hung up. The stalker phase. I wanted to believe that was the end of it. But ignoring my family? Not as easy as I thought. They didn't just let things go. And Jake, he took it to a whole new level. First, it was the phone calls. Dozens a day. Unknown numbers, blocked numbers, burner numbers. Then, the emails. Messages from fake accounts, all begging for money. I ignored them. Then, one morning, I got a notification from my bank. Someone attempted to access your account. I froze. I immediately locked everything down, changed passwords, enabled two-factor authentication, the whole deal. But something still fell off. The next morning, my phone buzzed again. An email from my realtor. Hey, just confirming your change of address request. What the hell? I called her immediately. What request? She explained that someone had called, pretending to be me. They even knew some of my personal details, my old address, my birth date. But when my realtor asked a basic security question, they couldn't answer. And right then I knew, Jake, this wasn't just a tantrum. This wasn't just entitlement. This was next-level insanity. He wasn't just mad. He was hunting for me. The confrontation. I decided I was done playing defense. Jake wanted a war? Fine. I unblocked my parents. The second I did, my mother's number lit up my screen. I answered. What the hell is wrong with Jake? She had the nerve to sound offended. Why are you so angry? You haven't spoken to us in weeks. I gritted my teeth. You mean the weeks where Jake tried to commit identity theft? Silence. Yeah, that's right. I snapped. Tell me why your golden boy is trying to steal my personal information. He wouldn't do that, she gasped. I rolled my eyes. Oh, so it's just a coincidence that someone tried to change my address? A coincidence that only started after I cut Jake off. She sighed. He's just desperate. You abandoned him. His life is ruined, and all you do is mock him. No, I said, voice sharp. He ruined his own life. And if he keeps this up, I'm going to the cops. I got a reaction. The cops? She shrieked. Yes, the cops. I have proof. So tell your little boy to back off, or I'll make sure he spends some quality time behind bars. She begged. Please, just talk to him. Just help him one last time. I let out a slow, deep breath. Fine. Put him on the phone. There was some rustling. Then, Jake's voice, smug as ever. Oh, now you want to talk? I leaned forward. I just want to know one thing. Silence. What was your plan? If you got my address, what were you going to do? Show up and demand I hand over my new place? He didn't answer. I let out a cold laugh. You seriously thought I wouldn't fight back? You always thought I'd be your safety net. That no matter what, I'd catch you. But guess what, Jake? I cut the net. More silence. Then, finally, he hissed. You think you're better than me? I smiled. No, Jake. I know I am. Then I hung up. The final act. When desperation turns to war. I thought that was it. I thought, surely, after getting caught trying to steal my identity, Jake would finally back off. But no. Jake and my parents weren't just mad anymore. They wanted revenge. 3 days later, I got a text from a friend. Hey. Saw something weird about you on Facebook. Thought you should know. My stomach twisted. I clicked the link. And there it was. A public post from some random fake-looking account. All about me. And when I say about me, I don't mean a petty rant. I mean a full-blown character assassination. According to this post, I was a horrible, selfish monster who had abandoned my dying parents in their time of need, stolen money from my own family, left them destitute while I ran off to live a lavish lifestyle. The comments? Brutal. Wow, what a disgusting person. I hope they lose everything. How could someone do this to their own family? And then, I saw who shared it. Jake and my mother. They weren't just mad. They were trying to destroy my name. That was their last mistake. Betrayal runs deep, but revenge runs deeper. I wish I could say I was shocked. But honestly, I wasn't. My family had always been like this, playing the victims, twisting the truth to make themselves look like the poor, innocent martyrs. But what really pissed me off was the sheer effort they put into this. They didn't just rant on Facebook. They contacted my job. They called my friends. They even reached out to my ex. People started messaging me nonstop. Is it true? Why would you do that to your own family? Did you really steal from them? I can't believe you'd be so heartless. I was beyond furious. This wasn't just family drama anymore. This was a smear campaign. And if they wanted war, I was done playing defense. The setup. How to legally destroy your family. The next few days, I got to work. Step 1. Gather evidence. Screenshots of Jake's attempted identity theft. Messages of him harassing me for money. Bank records proving I had never stolen a single cent from my parents. Proof that, if anything, they were the ones who had used me for years. Step 2. Hire a lawyer. Not just any lawyer. A pit bull. The kind who lives for cases like this. Step 3. Fire back. I had my lawyer send cease and desist letters to my parents and Jake. Take down the posts. Stop spreading lies. Or face legal consequences. I figured they'd get scared and back down. I was wrong. Instead, Jake doubled down. And then, my family made their final, desperate move. The family's last gamble, a lawsuit from hell. A week later, I got an actual legal notice in the mail. Jake and my parents were suing me. I stared at the papers, completely stunned. They were claiming emotional distress, financial abuse, that I had abandoned them and left them destitute. They had no case, no evidence, nothing. But they were banking on one thing: that I'd be too scared to fight back. Big mistake. The courtroom disaster, watching their plan explode. The first hearing? A disaster for them. Jake showed up in a suit that didn't fit, looking like a kid playing dress-up. My parents sat beside him, fake tears ready. Their lawyer? A bottom-of-the-barrel guy who clearly only took their case for the check. My lawyer? Tore them apart. We presented financial records proving I had never taken a dime from them. Screenshots of Jake harassing me for money. Proof of his identity theft attempt. The judge? Not impressed. At one point, they literally sighed and said, "Are you kidding me?" Then, the best part, Jake lost it. Right there in the courtroom. "This isn't fair," he screamed. "She ruined my life." The judge glared at him. "Sir, if you don't calm down, you'll be held in contempt." And just like that, my family's big revenge plan blew up in their faces. But I wasn't done yet. The final blow, taking everything from them. The very next day, I sued them back. For defamation, for emotional distress, for harassment. Jake laughed when he got the lawsuit. He thought I was bluffing, until the court ruled in my favor. I won a 5-figure settlement. And since my parents had co-signed Jake's debts, guess who had to pay up? Yeah, them. My mother begged me not to enforce the judgment. "I'm your mother," she sobbed. "Please don't do this." I stared at her. "You should have thought about that before you helped Jake try to destroy my life." She screamed, "Call me heartless." I didn't care. I made sure every single penny was collected. Jake? Broke. My parents? Financially wrecked. Me? I took my money and never looked back. But then one last twist. The email that changed everything. Months later, an email popped up in my inbox. From Jake. Subject line: "You win. But you should know something." I almost didn't open it. But curiosity got the best of me. The email was short. Mom and Dad lied to me too. They told me they set up an inheritance for me. That if I waited, I'd be taken care of. But they never saved a dime. I was supposed to get the house. Your house. That's why they pushed me to move in, because they needed you to keep it. So I'd have something. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. Then came the kicker. They're in deep debt. Not just from the lawsuit. They owe people money. Bad people. And now that they're broke, guess who those people are coming after? My blood ran cold. I knew my parents were bad with money. But loan sharks? And just like that, I realized this wasn't over. The truth comes crashing down. I sat there, staring at the email, my heart pounding. I knew my parents were reckless with money. I knew they relied on me to bail them out for years. But this was different. This wasn't just credit card debt. This wasn't just bad spending habits. This was dangerous. They weren't just broke. They owed bad people a lot of money. And now that they had nothing left to give, someone was coming to collect. I had two choices. Walk away. Let them deal with their own mess. Dig deeper. Find out just how bad this really was. Against my better judgment, I chose option 2. Digging up the dirt. It didn't take long to get answers. A few calls to old contacts. A few records pulled. A little digging into their financials. And then, the truth hit me like a train. My parents owed over $100,000. Not just the banks. Not just the credit card companies. To loan sharks. And Jake, turns out, he wasn't the only screw-up. My father had a gambling problem. My mother had been covering for him for years. When their money ran out, they started borrowing. When their borrowing wasn't enough, they made promises they couldn't keep. And when I sold my house, that was the last safety net they thought they had. Now, with nothing left, someone was coming to make them pay. Jake's desperate plea. 2 days later, Jake showed up at my door. I don't even know how he found me. But there he was, disheveled, desperate, scared. For the first time in his life, he looked genuinely afraid. "I need your help." I crossed my arms. Why would I do that? His hands were shaking. "Because if you don't, someone's going to die." For the first time in my life, I saw real terror in Jake's eyes. "They came to the house," he whispered. "Mom and Dad thought they could talk their way out of it. They were wrong." My stomach twisted. What happened? Jake swallowed hard. "They trashed the place. Took everything valuable. Left a warning." He rolled up his sleeve. There, on his forearm, a deep, fresh bruise. They told me if they don't get their money soon, next time, it won't just be a warning. I let out a slow breath. So what? You expect me to pay off their debt? Jake shook his head. No, I expect you to help me take them down. The setup for justice. I didn't want to get involved. I had spent years trying to escape my family's mess. But this was different. So I did something they never expected me to do. I went to the police. I gave them everything. The fake lawsuit they filed against me. Jake's identity theft attempt. My parents' fraudulent financial history. Every scam, every lie, every shady deal. And then, I tipped off the loan sharks. Not with money, oh no, with evidence. I showed them exactly how much my parents really had. How they had hidden assets. How they had been lying to everyone. Within a week, my parents were arrested. Fraud, tax evasion, debt-related crimes. They had scammed, stolen, and lied for years. And now, they were going to prison. Jake's redemption, sort of. Jake, he had a choice to make. He could keep running, or he could finally grow up. For the first time in his life, he did the right thing. He testified against our parents, told the court everything, helped the police track every scam, every lie, every debt. It didn't erase what he had done, but it was the first step toward fixing his own life. He got probation, community service, a fresh start. And me? I walked away for good. Justice served. My parents? 5 years in prison. Jake? Finally growing up. And me? For the first time in my life. Peace. No more phone calls. No more manipulation. No more drama. I was free. And damn, it felt good. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe for more real-life family dramas. Let me know in the comments what you think about today's story. Was it fair or totally messed up? See you in the next one.